That everything is up and running. There you go. Yes. Hello, my dearest peace lovers and peacemakers. I'm Sara Jamshidi here with Matin Rokhsafat. Welcome to Peace Mindedly, a podcast show featuring peaceful bridge makers. Today, we live stream our show in many social media and podcast channels, 11 podcast channels on many social media. So very easy to find us, Peace Mindedly Podcast. And there you go. We are in front of your eyes. Today is the fourth Tuesday of March, noon Pacific Standard Time. We are streaming live. And since our show is live and we are conducting our show as a radio format, I really thought that it's not probably wise to not talk about what exactly going on around us and specifically in the United States. I'm not sure where you are watching our show, but at the moment we are based in Seattle and our guest is based in the Netherlands. But in the United States, at the moment we are dealing with two mass shootings, two horrific incidents that is taking over the media and broadcast. One of them was the Boulder, Colorado supermarket mass shooting that killed 10 people. And the other one was Atlanta spa mass shooting, who killed about not about eight people, most of them Asian American. And then as I was preparing myself for this show, I was thinking, so many lives has been taken, and also we are dealing with pandemic. During the pandemic, many life has been taken, and for that matter, is it wise to even talk about not taking things seriously, which our show today is about, or to just leaving some breathing time for yourself and your family? Then the matter of the fact is that this is life. Life is about killing or getting killed, is about giving birth, is about planning for wedding, is about sending your kids back to school, or celebrating your cousin who's been just born. Or life is just has so many layers and so many adventures, and we are experiencing it the best way we can. For that matter, I thought, yes, there are so many horrific things are happening, yet at the same time so many beautiful things are happening, and we not only are paying attention to some of the serious stuff, we also need to pay attention to the beautiful side, or the more pleasant or more relaxing side of life. So therefore we decided that yes, we are going to move ahead with our programming. The other issue is we spent so much time, Martina and I, we spent so much time just putting a program together. We booked our guest about 3 months ago, and then it's so much preparation going on until we come live every Tuesday. And for that matter, it was not fair for us and for a guest and anyone who is waiting for this program to not have this conversation. So therefore, we are having this conversation. We are we are going to talk about how much attention we give to life, work, and leisure in our modern time. In the United States, we work much longer hours than any other industrial nation. For instance, Americans work 137 more hours than Japanese workers per year, 260 more hours than British workers, and 499 more hours than French workers, according to the International Labor Organization. So, if we work longer hours, much harder than any other European countries, if we take our profession and income so seriously, if we, for all of those matters, we must be more productive, more accomplished, and basically happier people. But Are we are we happier people in the United States? According to the latest research, 1 in every 6 Americans take some kind of psychiatric drugs, and more than 40 million adult Americans, around 18% of our population, dealing with fighting against depression and dealing with depression. So it seems we work harder and then we drive ourselves crazy with a busy life. However, we need to learn from other nations to be happy and how to be happy. For that matter, we have a excellent guest. So our guest is from the Netherlands. I mean, lives in the Netherlands, and then she we is I mean she talks about Dutch people. We have a guest that claims that Dutch people, according to research and statistics, are one of the happiest people on earth. Olga Mecking is a writer, journalist, translator, and a mom who lives in the Netherlands. I am going to bring Olga to our screen. Hello, Olga.
Hello, I'm so honored to be here.
Yes, the same here. We are so honored to have you in on Peace Mindedly. Mecking's article have appeared on the New York Times, the Guardian, the BBC, the Atlantic, and many other publications. She is the reporter who made niksen, uh, Dutch art of I'm going to say it again. niksen, Dutch art of doing nothing, a big phenomenon. Back in April of 2019, her article titled "The Case for Doing Nothing" in the New York Times was shared more than 150,000 times. My God. She is here to make the case for us Americans, saying that we must take the act of doing nothing more seriously. So, and her book, her latest book, Nixon, Embracing the Art of Doing Nothing. Welcome to Peace Mindedly, Olga.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. So, Olga, what is Nixon?
What is niksen? Yeah. So it has two parts. Two parts. One is it's doing nothing. So it's not browsing Facebook. It's not watching a movie. It's not reading emails. Um, and the second part is that it's without a purpose. So I think we do a lot of the things we do because we expect some kind of output. Like, we don't eat food because it tastes good. We eat food because it's supposed to be healthy, or we expect it to give us some special benefits, like, I don't know, better health or something. And I think that's a shame, because we also, it would be good to do things because we like them, or because they're fun, or because they're nice.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
those are the
yeah,
two
so
parts of niksen.
yeah, the whole book you are making the case in the book that doing nothing is a good thing. But I
Yeah.
wonder what happened. What happened that you became interested in the subject?
Yeah, so one day I saw an article in a Dutch wellness magazine, and it claimed Niksen was the new mindfulness. And I noticed two things. One was, or maybe more than two. One was, the Dutch have a word for doing nothing, and that's fantastic. I'm a linguist by profession and passion, so I love learning new words and new languages. And I thought it's fantastic that the Dutch have one word for doing nothing, because imagine in English you have to say not to do anything or to do nothing, and that's a lot of words. But in Dutch you just say nothing, and that's fantastic. And second thing I noticed was that people were a little bit fed up with wellness trends telling them to always be doing more, always be working on yourself, always be improving yourself. And that's why there were so many articles about reclaiming words like laziness or like boredom, things that had a negative connotation, but they were now seen in a positive way, which I also really liked. And third of all, um, at that time, international wellness trends were very popular. So we had Hygge, we had Ikigai in Denmark, we had Ikigai in Japan, we did other things, and then niksen fit really well into this as well.
Awesome. So I'm just going to walk you through an experience I had back in Iran, in Tehran. I used to live many, many years in Tehran. And one of the experiences, one of the things that I did with two of my friends, we were very close, leaving newsroom and coming over, sitting in a coffee shop. One of the things that we did that we really enjoyed was to just sit in a coffee shop, look at the window, seeing people are passing by, and to just make a story about them. If someone was very upset, we were just saying, "Oh, okay, this guy really had a very bad fight with his wife," or if a woman was carrying lots of flowers. Oh, I mean, just yeah, and then we were going through this. I mean, making the story. Oh, this it's gonna happen this, and then it's gonna be like that. Blah blah blah. And to me was, my mind was wandering, and everything was very relaxed and pleasant. So, is this niksen?
Um, well, it could be. For example, you're making up stories about people, and that gives you the opportunity for a new sort of thinking, that you're not focused on one thing, like you're not focused on solving a problem. You're just looking at people and think, what could they be doing? What's their experience right now? That's, I wouldn't call it niksen, but it's really close. So if you were, let's say, you would be in that cafe taking breaks because for a moment no one is passing that you could kind of make stories about. In that moment, you'd probably be doing nothing, right? So I see
Yes,
niksen as this in between thing.
in between things.
In between thing that you do a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and it doesn't have to be this big thing.
Yes, I mean, the other thing, Olga, in the United States, this has never happened to me. And this is exactly the case you are making in the book. So according to my sister, I'm going to show this book. So niksen, it's not a large book. It's a very handy, and you can put it in your bag and carry it with you and read it and really enjoying it, embracing the Dutch art of doing nothing. But honestly, Olga, this has not happened to me in the United States. And this is exactly what you're talking about. Sort of a real, I mean, although in newsroom, and I mean, doing news business, especially in Iran, is a tough job. And then oftentimes we just put our lives online to cover stories. Yet I felt more relaxed compared to the United States, where I feel that, okay, so I need to do this, and then on top of that, this, my plate is always full for no reason. So, is this the same experience you have in your life in the Netherlands?
Yes and no. So I guess one, there's this individual level, like what can we do to be more relaxed, for example. But as you've noticed, it's more than that. I think your environment will really, really affect the way you spend your time. And if, for example, you never see people who do nothing, but they're always running around doing something, or working, or doing something else, if they're always busy, then you're going to want to belong to, you probably feel the pressure to do the same, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you were doing niksen and doing absolutely nothing?
um I wouldn't say, because sometimes it's just, this little moment where you sit down and do nothing before you kind of between other things. So I might be probably doing. I usually do it when I read a book, and I usually see a nice sentence, or the book is just so exciting that I cannot stand it, and I have to put it aside for a moment, and or just something that I really need to think about, or something that reminds me of another thing that I've read, and then I would put the book aside and start thinking about other things, and that's sort of niksen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of when
But
I'm
but but
focused.
it's, I think it's daydreaming. I don't think it's niksen, and I daydream a lot. I have to confess.
It's sort of similar. In the book, I say it's sort of the same thing. You could be, because you're never really doing nothing. Like your body might be sitting still, but your mind is always, always working, always thinking, always doing something. So as one of my sources told me, if you're really doing nothing, you're dead. So yeah, no, our mind are never doing nothing. They're
Mhm.
always busy thinking. But yeah, daydreaming, I think it's a very good way to describe niksen. It's sort of similar.
Yeah, I have such a blast when I do daydreaming. I
Yeah.
actually, have a very lengthy conversation with myself in front of the mirror. It's just so funny, and I'm very glad that my husband doesn't, I mean, take me or see me during that time, because he's a psychiatrist and probably he would write a prescription for me. Anyway, just kidding. But here's the thing. So you say that if we do niksen, we become more creative and more productive. How so?
So with the productivity, we know that our bodies need breaks, right? So
Mhm.
if we run all day long, we know that at some point we should stop and take a break, maybe sit down, or maybe eat something, drink something. We cannot. Our bodies are just not able to move around all the time. But I think we underestimate that. Like we forget that our brains need breaks too. So we can't expect people to sit in front of their computers all day long and solve complicated problems, because at some point I noticed that myself when I'm writing an article, and after a while I notice myself doing writing nonsense because I cannot focus anymore. And I could tell myself, no, you have to push through it. But a better solution would be to get up and go for a walk, or do nothing, or read a book, or do something totally unrelated to what I'm writing, to give my brain a break. So that's the productivity. And also I think it's been shown, if we take breaks, regular breaks in our work, um, it just we just work more efficiently. And with the creativity, um, you know why people get their best ideas in the shower? They never get their best ideas when they're in front of the computers, focusing very hard to solving a problem. It's never that. It's always they're going for a walk, they're cycling, they're taking a shower, they're talking to a friend, they're doing something totally unrelated to the problem at hand. Um, and then suddenly it goes boom, right? The problem, the solution presents itself, like from no out of nowhere. And I get my best ideas from my articles this way. It's not when I'm thinking, okay, what should I write? What should I write? What should I write? It's never that. It's I go out, I read something, I talk to someone, I do nothing, I take a shower, I take a bath. It's always this unfocused state that makes you more open to new ideas.
Mhm.
What I find
I
interesting, sorry, if I may, what I find interesting about this is that when we talk about the creative process, we usually think of someone writing, or we think of someone painting, or we think of someone composing music, right? And that's the more visible part of creative work. But what we don't talk about is the incubation process, where you walk around and doing normal things like cooking dinner, but there's an idea germinating in your head, and it takes a while for that to kind of become an idea, to sprout seeds and leaves, and become an idea. um, and that's just as important as the part of creative work that we do see: the painting, the writing, the composing. uh,
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Because I think I always compare a result of whatever, at least in my own life, whatever I'm doing against cooking. So we have this very, very difficult dish called قرمه sabzi. So it's lots of process, like buying the vegetable, I mean, washing, chopping, cooking the beans, cooking. I just too many, and then at the end you have this very delicious stew and putting on the counter for your family to eat. And there's just so much things I had to do to finally put that dish on the table. And it is like what you are saying, the process that takes place
Yes.
to do the, yeah.
And yeah, of course, I think lots of things that make people creative are, so for example, if you would make a dish that you've done thousands of times, and you just, you're not thinking about it, your hands are kind of cutting and, kneading or whatever it is you're doing, but you're thinking about something else. So it can also be very, very creative. And my father, who's a professor of physics, his work is mainly either in front of the computer or writing down formulas on a piece of paper. And he said, it's just that, it's a piece of paper, and if I make a mistake on one page, all hours of work have been lost, simply because the formula isn't working anymore. But he taught himself to cook, and he saw, he's working with his hands that he likes, and he's making something that makes people happy because he's a really great cook. um and so it's also this way to, to do something else, and cooking is also very creative.
Has he been able to solve more physics problems after he's started cooking?
Not sure. Maybe I'm not sure, because he's a theoretical physicist, so I really don't understand what he's doing.
Yeah,
But
I'm teasing you.
no, but he at least he makes like restaurant quality food. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah,
Oh my
he's like a
God.
semi-professional chef who he takes part. He used to take part in like cooking competitions and stuff. So
Oh, wow.
very,
Wow.
very different thing. Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. This, maybe you write an article or a book or something about your dad and this relationship and how he's actually using niksen. Maybe he's using niksen. I'm not sure. But here's my question. What are the major difference? I mean, in the Persian culture, we have this practice, so to speak, called Gheighooleh, means that you take nap before, after lunch. It's just relaxing. We are not doing it anymore. Or we have Dolce Far Niente.
Hmm?
You explain in the book, or Wowi, or Sabbath, or
Hmm?
Siesta. So these are some kind of, if you put it in your daily routine, Sabbath is weekly and siesta is daily. The others are daily. But put in your, it's all of them suggest getting a bit relaxed, just a
Yes.
bit relaxed.
Yes.
And I wonder what is the difference between these things and niksen. Are they niksen?
Yeah. So, for example, I would say Dolce Far Niente. It literally means sweet, doing sweet nothing. So it's like niksen, right? Because niksen is also doing nothing. Um, the other things are not necessarily niksen, but I was just so fascinated by this idea that almost every culture, every language, every religion had some sort of um, um, word or expression or tradition that had to do with working less, that had to do with relaxation, spending time with family, that had to do with sleeping, or some things to make you more relaxed. So, as I said, dolce far niente in Italian means doing sweet nothing. And so that's really like niksen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and siesta is also going to sleep. And for example, Sabbath, right? So that's for the Jews. That's also the day where they cannot do any work. And in Polish, niedziela, our word for Sunday, that's the day where we don't work, right? So
It's interesting, Olga. In the United States, we don't have that. That's. I mean, it blew my mind knowing that our week in the United States starts on Sunday.
oh yeah.
and then
Thing is, yeah,
most people work on Saturday. So basically, there is no time off. I mean, we take time off, but really, I work more hours on Saturday than on weekdays. Yeah.
yeah, I can
Okay.
imagine.
So when we come back, what I would like you to do is to just tilt the screen of your computer just a bit forward. There you go. So then when we are showing all of the descriptions wouldn't go in your face. So stay put with me, please. You are watching and listening to Peace Mindedly, a podcast show. We find peaceful bridge makers. We find them and we invite them to our show and we talk with them because we want to learn from them and we want to feature them our show in our show. That's so then you also learn from these people usually spend their time, lots of time oftentimes, to create the body of work and to present them to the audience. We live stream our show on social media and podcast channels. Easy to find us. Also, all of these programming goes to goldtune.com, GOLTUNE, a website about peace journalism. It's a news magazine, and we post episodes and other stories on goldtune.com. The final Tuesday of March, we are talking to Suzanne Kolbe, foreign correspondent for Der Spiegel and author of Behind the Kingdom's Veil, Inside the New Saudi Arabia Under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Whoa, I said all of those in one breath. You who me. In this episode, we will discover how one world leader in the most important Muslim country tries to take his country into modernity. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, is determined to accomplish his vision for Saudi Arabia. He is ready to kill and murder to accomplish his goal. Kolbe show us how. For the first Tuesday in April, we are talking with two scholars who translated some controversial Arab poems into English. Kevin Jones, author of The Dangers of Poetry, Culture, Politics, and Revolution in Iraq, and Thomas Levy, who translated Rami al-Ashiq poem, My Heart Became a Bomb. We'll discuss it's a translation of Al-Ashiq's poems. We will discuss with these two scholars the power and danger of words in the Middle East, especially in Iraq. Back to this hour, we are talking to Olga Mecking, writer, journalist, translator based in the Netherlands. Mecking writes for the BBC, The Guardian, The Washington Post, New York Magazine, Yes Magazine, and many other publications. Her book, Niksen, Embracing the Art of Doing Nothing, published this year, and this book is available on goldtune.com. If you purchase the book through our website, you are helping our peace journalism, and it's also available on many online shops. So, Olga, I want to know, when do you feel the urge to do niksen yourself?
Good question. As I've said before, one of the things is just when I'm reading a book, or when I sit down to maybe take a rest, um, and just sit there and think for a while, and then it starts. It usually works like this. I sit down to do nothing, but then I kind of get all those ideas because that's how it works. But when now schools are open in the Netherlands, but when they were closed due to the pandemic, I actually did a lot of nothing after I was done with the kids' schooling, simply because I was unable to do anything else. I was so exhausted. So yeah, that wasn't really a great reason for doing nothing, but it was really necessary.
Mm-hmm. So, let's say I come to you and say, Olga, I want to practice niksen and I don't know how. What
Mhm.
are your tips to me?
So I would, for example, ask, are you someone who likes planning stuff or scheduling stuff?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. So depending on what you're feeling like. If you like scheduling stuff and you have an agenda and you use it a lot, then just schedule some niksen time in your agenda. And because what usually happens is we schedule all the important stuff. We schedule doctor's appointment. We schedule um, Zoom conferences. And if we write it down in our agendas, we're going to consider it important and actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And another approach would be to take it one moment at a time and look around and think, okay, where am I right now? Can I do some nothing here and now? Or usually great moments for doing nothing are when you're waiting for something or someone. So you're on a train or you're in a bus and you don't have your. I usually take a book with me, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just put it away and look out of the window. And or when we're waiting in line at the supermarket, or when we're waiting for the doctors to see us, those would be great moments for doing nothing.
Excellent. So, in this book, it's lots of praise for Nixon. What are the downsides of Nixon?
Yeah. So one thing I was thinking about would be, for example, if you're, let's say you're depressed and maybe you're not feeling like doing much, but the and I don't want to overgeneralize it because it's such a tricky topic, but the source the woman I talked to told me that she made herself do all sorts of stuff when she was depressed, and it really helped her. So in her particular situation, and I know it's not for everyone, and people are very different. In her case, it really helped her deal with her depression.
Mm-hmm.
And also think, so for example, there's lots of inequalities in the way we spend our times. So we know, for example, that men and women are doing the same amount of work, but men do more paid work and women do more unpaid work. And I think the pandemic has even brought that even more to the fore, the equalities, simply because in the pandemic, when kids are at home and they don't go to school, um, it's often the women who kind of um, who 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 start doing less work and doing more childcare, and it's making many households more unequal. And then it wouldn't be if you already have more free time for yourself, for example, as many men do, because there's also an equality in free time. Men have more free time than women, and if you're someone who has lots of free time, then maybe you're already doing so much fun, but maybe your wife isn't. And then maybe it could be that instead of niksen, you could probably do the laundry or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's absolutely true. So I wonder, what is Hygge, if I or Hygge, if I pronounce it correctly, and how do these two concepts complement or not complement each other, oppose each other?
So you're talking about Hygge, right? The
Hygge,
Danish
yes, Hygge.
concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was quite popular a few years ago, and it's a concept from Denmark,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to do with coziness, I think, and spending time in a nice atmosphere with your friends, and it's just spending your time at home, for example, in a cafe. And the Dutch actually have a very similar thing that they call gezelligheid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of similar to Hygge. There are probably some differences, but it's similar. I would say Hygge is very embedded in Danish culture, so it would be very, very hard to take it out of Denmark and kind of transplant it someplace else. Whereas I think niksen is more universal because, as I said before, many countries and cultures and languages have a word or expression that shows doing nothing or taking leisure time. or not working in a positive light. So this is something more universal. It's just that the Dutch have a very useful, practical word for it. Niksen.
Very well said. Yes, yes. I like how you explained Nixon. Okay, so I think I wonder, why do we need to read one whole book to just understand Nixon?
um, well, so yeah, I could, of course, you could, there's my article about doing nothing. You could read that, but I
Mm-hmm,
think the book gave me a bit of more space to kind of explain the concept
mm-hmm,
and my experiences living in the Netherlands, and how kind of the Netherlands has a really great infrastructure for doing nothing, because your environment is very important and will affect the way you spend your time. So, for example, let's, as an example, maybe not doing nothing but cycling. So, in my hometown of Warsaw, Poland, I didn't cycle so much because it was just so inconvenient, not to mention dangerous sometimes, because cycling paths, there were very few of them, and they sometimes ended in busy streets. No, here there are cycling paths everywhere. People on bicycles have priority, and they have special lights, just traffic light just for them. So cycling isn't just easier; it's actually it's a normal way to commute from A to B, and it's very normal, and people take notice of you. So here I cycle very often, maybe not every day, but at least few times a week
mm-hmm,
if the
mm-hmm,
weather allows for it. So it would be the same with leisure time. If a country gives you parental leave and access to healthcare and lots of time off work, then of course you're going to feel less guilty at actually taking that time off, and you're going to feel it's just normal. You're not going to think about it so much.
mm-hmm. Olga, can you tell me the graphic on the book? So, what the graphic really says? I think it's so Dutch.
Yeah, so the that's actually interesting from yes, the author, because the book has appeared in several languages, and all the covers are very different and all are gorgeous. And this one, I think it has lots of Dutch elements, tulips and birds and bicycles. It looks
Mm-hmm.
really nice.
Yeah, so basically taking time
Yeah,
or spending
orange, of
leisure.
course. Lots of
Yes.
orange because it's the national color of the Netherlands.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Awesome. So one of the reasons that as much as I understood, we call
I'm
uh
sorry. One second. One second.
sure. Okay, yes, we are talking to Olga Mecking, author of Nixon, Embracing the Art of Doing Nothing. This book is available on goldtone.com and any other online shops that you purchase your books and the literature. And yes, I just wanted to very quickly ask, for those of us who do not know exactly who are Dutch people, I think is has a Germanic root,
Yes.
and then that's why we usually call German people Dutch people, German and Dutch culture. So therefore, I think it has that kind of connotation. And also back in Tehran, we called the Netherlands Holland,
Yeah.
but here we call it the Netherlands. And then I think Holland is refers to two major provinces in north and south,
Yes.
but it's just only two provinces out of I think seven major provinces.
17 province. Yeah. So
17,
so the
17.
yeah, it's not. No, it's 12 actually. Sorry,
Oh,
but
okay.
the idea is that in those two Hollands, South and North Holland, are actually the most important cities. So Amsterdam is in North Holland, and The Hague, where I live, and Rotterdam, which is a huge port harbor city, is in South Holland.
Mm-hmm,
So there
mm-hmm,
are other cities too, but those just happened to be in this in this area, and that's why people refer to the Netherlands as Holland. And if I say I live in Holland, I actually do live in Holland.
Yes, yes, yes.
Dutch. Yeah, the word has Germanic root, and it comes from a word that means people, like a nation, and that's why we call the Dutch people Dutch, and that's why we call German people Deutschland.
Deutschland, yes, exactly. Excellent. So please stay put. At the end of every program, we ask our guests to share something meaningful about peace, kindness, compassion. That can be a statement, a childhood story, a prayer, or whatever they feel that they would like to share. Here is Olga and her story of peace, kindness, and compassion. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about what I was going to say, and as Polish, I was raised in the Catholic tradition, and I used to go to church for a while. I used to go every week, every Sunday, and there was this part where people would share a sign of peace. So they would either like you would shake your neighbor's hands and say peace be with you, peace be with you, and with people farther away you would kind of nod your head at them and say peace be with you. And I'm not going to, I've stopped going to church a long time ago, but I still kind of remember that, and I think I like that.
Yes, very good. In Islamic tradition, whenever we see each other, we say salam, or
Yeah.
in Jewish, it's shalom, and that is in itself the meaning of the word is peace.
Yeah.
Very good. So I do have Mateen with me. You were watching to Peace Mindedly podcast show featuring peaceful bridge makers. Olga Mecking's book Niksen, Embracing the Dutch Art of Doing Nothing, is available, and we had a great discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
Take
you so
care.
much.
Thank you. Khoda Hafiz.